Give them a shot to do what?
All right. Don't change that dial. The screen is not messed up. This isn't the Scientific Atlanta box where the squiggly lines and the colors are all jacked up on your TV. No, this is a crossover episode with Goat Talk with Marcus and stuff about sports because Dwayne Marcus had a guest that couldn't make it, and we were scrambling to figure out what we were going to do tonight. So here we are, crossing over, doing a little collabo, and I like it. So Dwayne Marcus is here. I'm here. Bert's here. We're going to talk some sports here, guys, some real sports, because college football playoff is set. NFL Week 13 is over with. We're going to talk about that. And as our reward for a great NFL Week 13, we get, what is it, Patriots and some other trash-ass team on Thursday Night Football. The Patriots, Steelers, that dog shit lineup continues. We had a good run of Thursday, I think. And then all of a sudden, here we are. We had Dallas, Seattle last week. That was nice. Yeah. You know, the Thanksgiving games were nice. And then here we are back to the same old bullshit that NFL likes to give us. And I don't know why they punish us. I would gladly sacrifice Thursday and Monday Night Football for just like week 20 of the NFL, like some extra weeks of Sunday football. Like, get rid of Thursday Night Football. Don't waste my time. Law and Order SVU is about to come back on the air anyway in January. So my Thursdays are going to be back to my regular scheduled program. I don't have time for Patriots and Steelers. Kenny Pickett, one of the worst picks of all time. And whatever, Bailey Zappi, Mac Jones, whatever combination that Bill Belichick is going to run out there and just give us and waste the rest of our time. Goddamn NFL. Roger Goodell talking about banning the tush push. The fuck you talking about? Ban Thursday Night Football. Ban the Steelers and the Patriots from playing on Thursday Night Football. That's what you can do, Roger Goodell. You got bigger fish to fry. And we're going to get to them in a minute, in good, bad, and fugly, because I have some bones to pick. And I should have just given all fuglies out this week. All of them. There was nothing good in the NFL. Now, there was one good, and Dwayne Marcus's Packers.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, and so we're going to let him get his shit off. But before we get started, gentlemen, Bert.
Let's go.
Cam,
Can I just say, how stupid was I to throw the Falcons back last week? And then
NFC
I
South
told the Broncos. Yeah, and then the Falcons obviously, put it to the Jets because Jets. And, the Broncos fell short of, CJ Stroud and the Texans. So,
man, the NFL script is in full effect in Week 13.
For real.
Everybody was talking about Atlanta. Everybody's writing Atlanta off. Hold on. Hey, NFL script. Hey, Denver, they're not starting good. All of a sudden, they have a string of good games. Uh-oh, Denver's back. Hold up. NFL script strikes again. Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love looked like a bust. We're missing Aaron Rodgers. Uh-oh. Wisconsin, we back. Let's go. All right. I have the standings over there. I think me and Ty are 8-5. Bert, you had the loss, so I think you're 7-6. There's a bunch of 7 and 6s out there. I don't think anybody has a losing record anymore. I think everybody's either 7 or 6 or 8-5.
Nice.
So that's nice. So here we go, Bert. Washington racial slurs. Probably going to throw that back.
No, they have a bye this week.
Oh, there we go. Automatic dub for Bert. All right, let's go. Who's next? Corey. The Denver Broncos. Jeez. I'm up next. The Miami Dolphins. All right.
Okay.
Might stay with that one. Carl. The New York Giants. Tommy DeVito. Hey, Tommy DeVito. Hey. All right. Mike with the Cincinnati Bengals again. Good job, Mike. He's probably going to keep that from his daughter Peyton is a Bengals fan. Ty with the Kansas City Chiefs, that son of a bitch, playing my Buffalo Bills. Even though the Kansas City Chiefs aren't really the Kansas City Chiefs this year, it still bothers me that I'm always scared of what they can accomplish. So I'm very nervous about what what they're going to be able to do to my Buffalo Bills. Because honestly, the Bills playoffs start this week, gentlemen. Like the Bills need to string together some wins, like literally basically win out.
Yeah.
And if they win out, obviously I think they'll make it. And they could technically make it if they lose one game, but they would need a lot of help. Not really banking on that. I think we have the Chiefs this week, then the Cowboys, and then the Patriots. Dolphins are in there, and I think the Chargers are in there somewhere. So, I mean, honestly, if we can get through the Dolphins, or not the Dolphins, if we can get through the Cowboys and the Chiefs, I'll feel pretty good about our chances. But
you have to feel pretty good about your chances rolling into this weekend too. The Chiefs are going back to back of what I would say somewhat embarrassment, to be completely honest with you. So, I mean, especially after this past weekend too, it's one of those things where as a Bills fan, you got to go in being like, hey, why not?
Yeah. Because Sean McDermott's our coach. That's why not. We'll never win.
Enough,
I mean,
yeah.
It's an important game.
Don't worry. I'll get to the Bills and your general manager in particular too. So.
Thanks. All right. So let's get to that right now. The good, the bad, the fugly for week 13. Dwayne Marcus, what is your good this week or the last week?
Oh, well, we know my good is. The Green Bay Packers are 6-6. And we got a chance to make the playoffs. I not just make the playoffs, but also win the division, which I know we'll talk about in just a second. So, I mean, that's my good. I don't like being a homer. I don't like being biased. But when it's been the up and down season that we've had, from not being able to finish games early in the season, we should have beaten the Falcons. We went scoreless in the second half. We couldn't win that game. There was another game. There was a point in time this season where our best win was against the Bears, and the Bears suck. So we strung together some good wins. We beat the defending Super Bowl champs. I don't care that they haven't been the Chiefs. Taylor Swift was there, and Travis Kelce looked like garbage. So that's a double win to me. Yeah, the Packers were my good. We're 6-6. We've got a chance to win the division. We've got a chance to make the playoffs. There is, as I talked to Jerm about before the show started, there is a very slight chance we win the 1 seed, but I'm not delusional. A division title is what I'm looking for at this point because it's possible. We'll need a little bit of help from Detroit. But yeah, the Packers are my good this week.
Nice, Bert.
The Packers are my good as well. Why not, right? So this marks a 3-game win streak, the past 2 of them against what some would consider high-power offenses in the NFL. So with that being said, as much as Jordan Love is loving himself in this position right now and doing it for the Packers, you have to give it up to the defense as well. Holding the Chiefs to 19 points, regardless of what injury reasoning, non-refs in their back pocket that we want to say, it is overly impressive to hold the Chiefs to 19 in general. Like Dwayne Marcus said, I mean, they're back in action and ready to win the division.
My good is Jake Browning, the legend of Jake Browning and the Cincinnati Bengals. Let me tell you, hey, the rumors of the Bengals' demise have been greatly exaggerated because unlike Sean McDermott, Coach Zach Taylor said 20 seconds left, 1 timeout. I trust my quarterback, unlike Sean McDumbass. Hey, man, go out there and win us a game. I trust you. I know what you are capable of. Even though you're not one of the greatest quarterbacks in the world, even though you have done things that haven't been done in the NFL before. Jake Browning, you're not Josh Allen, but I still trust you. 32 for 37, 86%, guys. 354 yards, okay? Joe Burrow's never done that. He's never had 1 passing touchdown and another rushing touchdown with that type of completion percentage. Now, not saying that Jake Browning is Joe Burrow in disguise. What I'm saying is that the moment he was called to deliver in a moment that Cincinnati needed, and he delivered. And listen, the stat says that was 7th time in NFL history that a quarterback has completed at least 86% of his passes while throwing for 350 yards. This isn't 86% throwing it 15, 20 times. All right. 37 times is the average in the NFL. So, I mean, close to 40 times he's thrown the ball. And then, of course, basically what the backyard storybook ending, right? Like winning the game, the game-ending game-winning field goal drive, put his team in a position to win the game. So as Zach Taylor said, he lit the world on fire, and he definitely showed up for the Cincinnati Bengals. So if you're a Cincinnati fan who thinks, oh my God, Joe Burrow's gone, it's over for us. Well, not so fast. I mean, Jake Browning is here and he's wearing a cape. Dwayne Marcus, you're bad.
I was trying to debate this week between like what's considered bad, what's considered fugly. What I've decided is that the Browns losing to the Rams is bad this week.
Yeah.
Because when you look at that division, right, we're talking about a division where we just talked about the Bengals, right? The Bengals, do they have a shot at the playoffs? Yeah, because they're 6-6. Are they going to make the playoffs without Joe Burrow? Probably not with the games they have left. I know they have a couple division games left in there. Then you have to think about the fact that despite the fact that the Steelers are above 500, Kenny Pickett don't have an ankle no more. No one like Mitchell Trubisky. They're probably not going to win any more games the rest of the year, if maybe one or two. Like, this division is really a two-horse race now. We know the Ravens are probably going to win it, but the Browns losing this game. Now they're 7-5 instead of being 8-4. Their schedule these last 5 weeks of the season aren't easy. Like, they don't have gimmies, especially when you've got PJ Walker or Dorian Thompson-Robinson starting at center. None of those guys are bad. I'm fans of both those guys, but neither of those guys are going to walk onto the field as the best quarterback on the field for any of the next 5 weeks. Losing this game, not good when you're talking about trying to win one of those last wildcard spots, because the AFC wildcard race is a lot more crowded than we originally anticipated it was going to be at the beginning of the season. So Browns losing to the Rams in the way that they did is bad.
Bert?
So your key there is in the way that there's a loss here, and I'm going for the low-hanging fruit here with the Eagles. Plain and simple. You're talking about a team that has been touted the best team in the NFL for the last 3 or 4 weeks at this point, whose only loss for some reason this season came from, what was it? It wasn't the Jets, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, I believe it was.
Yeah, I think
it
it was.
Zach Wilson. Yeah.
It was Zach Wilson and the Jets. So for me, and look, if they had lost, but this was an overtime game or a 3-point game, that's fine. They didn't just lose. They got embarrassed. They got so embarrassed that the team's head of security is doing security facing the football field instead of, I don't know, maybe doing security from the individuals behind the team, which, by the way, and this, we can go off tangent on this one if we'd like, but what does a football team need security for when you're playing the game of football? Can someone explain this to me? I can't. I legit can't figure it out. Nor,
I mean, Bert, can the giant 350-pound, 6'7" players defend themselves or no?
That's my reasoning too. And also, why do they need to secure themselves from anything whilst playing the game? And why is this dude? Why is the coach allowing him on like literally a foot from the field?
Right.
Anyways, it goes to show that I don't know. I guess you start winning games, you let everybody down there watching whatever type of organization the Philadelphia Eagles has. Anyways, the Eagles in itself, they did not look good. Now, with that being said, there's been arguments in the past. Do the Eagles have a tough schedule? Have they really faced any hard opponents? I mean, when you're losing to the Jets, particularly early on in the season, and you're going in this game 10-1, you would think it'd be a shootout, particularly from an NFC team that we know for a fact this could be an NFC championship game this year. And just goes to prove that Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers have it on lock. And now if they do end up meeting again somewhere in the playoffs, they have the mental advantage over the Eagles. Yeah. So for me, look, do I think the Eagles are obviously going to bounce back next week? Yes, it's going to be a great game between them and the boys. Plain and simple, just like we saw, I don't know what, week 10 when they faced off against each other. So I expect a bounce back from them, but this week, my bad has to go to them 100%. It looks like they didn't even show up to play.
Yeah.
And it's not just that mental advantage. If the Niners and the Eagles have the same record this year, they're also not going to have home field advantage either, because the Niners will have the 1 seed and they'll have to go to the Bay in a playoff game. So they're in a tough spot. They're in a tough spot. They're in a tough spot.
Yeah, it's not a good time, especially and this is what happens when the referees don't, give you all the calls, but I digress. My bad is going to the New Orleans Saints. 3 straight losses and it's over. Their season is over. It's a disaster. It's officially a disaster. It wasn't going well for most part of the season. Now it is officially a disaster. They were only one game. They're only a game behind the Falcons now, but like if you look at how the Falcons are and how the Saints are, they're not the same. It seems like a bigger gap than one game. And I know they have to play each other, I believe, week 18. So I just Tampa Bay's right behind them. I trust Tampa Bay a lot more than I trust New Orleans. And then of course the icing on the cake, the cherry on top, the other shoe dropping is Derek Carr hurt again. Tell me if you heard this before, guys. Derek Carr's hurt. And so they gave him 3 years and $150 million. I don't know if you guys know that, but here he is hurt in year one of that deal. So or two of that deal. And so Dennis Allen, the coach, again, a mistake. And we should have known. We should have known just based on Derek Carr and Dennis Allen's history in Oakland that this wasn't going to work. Literally, when you are clamoring for Jameis Winston, you probably should just pack it up. It's over. It's like, if Jameis Winston is your hope, is what you're telling people you want, then I'm pretty sure that it's over. And so in the spirit of the New Orleans Saints, I'm playing their new theme song.
Oh man.
As a franchise. Dwayne Marcus, you're fugly.
So I have two. One of them is the Eagles. I feel like when you have the best record in football and when your fan base is this obnoxious, you can't get blown out by anybody. No, you can't get blown out by anybody. Let alone the team that you said to keep that same energy to all year long. So I was one of the people in the 49ers camp who said, hey man, look, Brock Purdy doesn't get his elbow popped into a different spot. The 49ers probably won that football game. It was like, oh, you can't do this. Jalen Hurts was hurt also. I actually had an argument about this with one of my buddies the other day. He's like, was Jalen Hurts not hurt also? I said, well, Jalen Hurts played in the football game. Brock Purdy was so hurt he could not play football game. Not the same thing. I watched Brock Purdy step out on the football field, 6 consecutive touchdown passes. Meanwhile, Jalen Hurts couldn't get the offense moving at all. That's bad. Somehow, though, there is something slightly worse. Every year, we find one division of the 8 that proves that automatic playoff berths should no longer exist. And this year, it's the NFC South. I don't care how much the Falcons are surging. You just mentioned, Jerm, how the Bucks suck. Not the Bucks, the Saints, they suck. The Panthers have been statistically eliminated from the playoffs. And if it weren't for them trading the pick away, they'd have the first overall pick again this year. And then you've got the Bucks, who, they're better than the Saints on paper. Sure. Playoff team? No. The NFC South is the 2023 example. Exhibit F, whatever exhibit we're on now in the last 10 years, of reasons why we should not have automatic playoff berths in the NFL. There is no reason why Dallas, Detroit, Philly, San Francisco, even us, should have to go to Atlanta, go to New Orleans, or go to Tampa Bay for a playoff game just because they won the division. This is yet another example of that. And if I didn't have an anti-Eagles agenda, I would probably have just let that live as the fugly alone. But I'm getting real sick of Eagles fans. They sit up here and they want to talk about how Jalen Hurts is MVP when he hasn't been the best player on the team all year. They want to throw Jalen Carter into the Defensive Rookie of the Year conversation when he's not. They look, Eagles fans, what I need you to do is I need you to put the knee pads away, get off your knees, and zip up Jalen Hurts' pants when you're done and make sure you wipe your mouth. This is ridiculous what we have to sit through on a week-to-week basis. I'm getting sick of it, Like the Eagles had 2 close games against the Commanders. And if it was the Cowboys with 2 close games against the Commanders, we'd be tearing them to shreds. Like I don't understand. Jalen Hurts lost. Jalen Hurts is the reason why the Eagles are 10-2. It's not because of the coaching, it's not because of Brad Johnson or whatever his name is, it's not because of the defense, it's because of Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts lost the game against the Jets. He lost the game against the 49ers. It's his fault, but he's supposed to be the MVP this year. Yeah. Okay. Wipe your mouth when you're finished. Take the knee pads off, zip his pants up, and then you get back to me. Eagles might not make it back to the NFC Championship game this year, if we're being completely honest. They lose this week. It's rough. It's going to be rough in Philly. They lose this week. I tell you that much.
So you're talking about Ben Johnson, future Buffalo Bills head coach, if I have anything to do about it. So, to turn down the sass meter when talking about the great Ben Johnson, okay? I'm openly setting up a campaign to get him hired. But as far as your take on the Phillies fans, yeah, I'm with you. Fuck them. Spot on. Yeah. Fuck them. Bert, what's your fugly?
Man, there are so many different ways I wanted to go. Like, am I going with a division? Am I going with a team? Am I going with the collective thought or proven fact this year that quarterbacks are made of glass and dropping like flies right now? But instead, I decided to go towards more of the internet bully avenue and say the fugly Jamal Adams acting like the biggest crybaby in the world because someone criticized him getting blown out from a coverage standpoint. And by the way, this is Jamal Adams, who on his Twitter bio's accolades are one-time All-Pro or Pro Bowl, like whatever it says, and someone who has barely played football over the past 6 years anyways. Now, granted, I know there might be beef between him and this Jets beat reporter. I know that. It was a simple comment. It said, yikes, and he might be sick of it. But I'm telling you right now, as a 28-year-old individual that's been in the NFL for, 7 years at this point, you have to conduct your business a little bit better than retweeting a picture of this dude's wife and making it personal. That, to me, is unnecessary. Now, there's a lot of trolls out there that thinks, hey, this is funny, and you know what? That reporter got what he deserved. But did he? One aspect, you're criticizing somebody who's doing their job, regardless of if it's been carryover from when he was with the Jets or not. You're like this, or lack of doing his job. If you're a football player with this thin skin and can't take criticism, dude, find another job. I don't know, work at a mattress factory or something soft where nothing can hurt you. Like it's one of those things where you have to just take it, plain and simple. Why? Because you're making millions upon millions for the game that you love. And it wasn't, for me, it didn't seem personal. There may be other history that we don't know about, other personal attacks in itself, but hey, do your job right. You won't have this issue. So I thought it was a cop-out. I think for him to basically come out and say, well, the point I was trying to get across is that I wanted this to stop. So I had to take it to a personal level. So he would have to stop coming out to me. You know what else works? Maybe picking up the phone and calling him, being like, listen, man, I don't appreciate that. If you want to continue this, you're not going to like the road it's going to go down. And then if he doesn't stop, get a little bit personal with it, I'll say. But to bring the man's wife into it is just absolutely unnecessary. Particularly because if that's the precedent you're going to set, then you have to do this for everybody that criticizes you. I now want to see Jamal Adams take it personal with every single person, analyst, beat reporter, anybody that makes a comment on how he may have missed coverage or made a bad play. I want to see the same level of momentum for everybody else. But to me, with all due respect, you haven't done enough to earn the right to act like this much of a little bitch over a little comment that says yikes. So for me, that's getting the fugly this week above all else.
So Bert, I love everything you said. I'm with you, man. Like Jamal Adams, you got to have tougher skin than that. But when I saw that comment,
I like this move.
I love it.
I can't say I didn't laugh a little bit, but
Hey.
I will say, but I put myself like, man, if someone was calling my wife out like that, I'd be fucking furious. And I hope that dude is. I hope he goes back at him. And like, listen, it's one of those things where this guy, it's kind of a part of his job to comment on football.
Yeah.
To bring like personal in it is just unnecessary. Because what if that reporter had come back and started pulling photos of his family and shit, it would get messy. Real
Hell
quick.
yeah. Listen, let's go. Fuck it. Hey, as somebody who, so on one hand, I do understand the guy's doing his job, but and you know me a long time, Bert.
Yeah.
Hey, if you shoot at me with a gun, be prepared to get hit with a nuke.
Yo, they don't call you the Facebook felon for nothing.
Hey.
And the fact that you've survived like 4 or 5 bans of Facebook, because when Jerm gets into an argument, it's not just he proves his point very well, but if you still come back and if you start to interject not fact but opinion and get snarky with Jerm goes, okay, and then does a little bit of a Google search, a little bit of a Facebook search, a little bit of a comment, and then he's hit with a ban. And let me tell you something. What Jamal Adams did is nothing compared to what Jerm has done.
Compared to what Jerm.
Nothing. And I can't even.
It's so bad.
Enough.
We can't even divulge.
I won't even say it because I don't want to get taken off the stream. However, yes, listen, don't shoot unless you're willing to get shot back. Go to the streets. This is just the way I live. And to me, there are no levels of disrespect, right? Disrespect is disrespect. So if Jamal Adams felt disrespected, whether the reporter did or not, that's up to, it doesn't matter if I think it was disrespect or if Bert thinks it was disrespect or Dwayne Marcus does. Jamal Adams took it as disrespect. And so what he perceived as low, so he went lower. I'm with that because that's what I do. Hey, we can debate, we can have an argument, we can do whatever. The moment you take a shot at me, I'm taking 1,000 more shots at you. Trust me. Let's see how far you're willing to go because I'm willing to go pretty far. I'm willing to go all the way. And Jamal Adams, to me, based on his history, seems to be the same way. I mean, go back to when he got hurt when he was on the Jets versus Seattle, and he was carted off and he was flicking the Seattle bench off. Like that's just part of who he is. So while yes, that is fugly, you don't want to go after anybody's wife or whatever. Yes. However, I don't believe in absolutism. I would be furious, but I also would be like, yeah, like I get it. Like I did this thing out of spite because me and Jamal Adams got beef, and he went after my wife because he's an asshole. There's no rule against that, and it is what it is. But yeah, I'm with you there. Like it's when you're an athlete and you're not going to win against the media. Period. Like I don't care what the reporter did, unless the reporter just went nuts and unless the reporter's Paul Feinbaum. Then other than that, other than that, like the reporter does what he got to do, and I didn't see anything really wrong with what the reporter did. But
I think obviously the offense was taken because from the carryover beef, but the fact that he does cover the Jets, and so he didn't even have a dog in that fight.
Yeah,
it was Jamal Adams, I guess, catching strays for lack of a better term. Look, everybody has an opinion. Everybody's allowed to have an opinion, but obviously he took offense in the fact it's like, dude, why are you even watching it? Like, why do you even have a comment? He's saying it now to say it. It is what it is. But look, that was Fugly Part 1. I will say, and just very briefly, I had a close second, and it was overall the lack of clarity, continuity around what the NFL and teams do when players are faced with allegations and charges. And this is stemming from Von Miller and everything going on with that. And this one, Jerm, I think you'll appreciate this, not only being a Bills fan too, but if we can draw comparisons to how the Bills, now look, the NFL, we know for a fact, it's always going to be inconsistent depending on what the charges were, what the facts are, and their own investigation while they wait for an investigation to play out, right? However, the team itself does have the rights, if they want to terminate contracts, cut players, and get rid of it, depending on if it's going to be a PR nightmare or if they feel they know enough facts to realize, hey, you don't need to be a part of this organization. Now, for me, what really set me off, and this is comments that were made today by Brandon Beane saying, we're going to let the investigation play out and we'll follow the lead of the NFL. Well, I don't know if anybody has read what the investigation report is, or at least the story about Von Miller, but apparently his girlfriend of long time, who he has children with, he is accused and was arrested on charges for basically domestic violence as she's 6 weeks pregnant. Now, further into the investigation, what she had told the police adds up to the bruising that's on her neck, because she has said that he put his hands on her neck, as well as some other abrasions, and even proved to the police that she is in fact pregnant through text messages exchanged with him, as well as a picture of a valid pregnancy test. Why those details are important is because they're more conclusive details for Von Miller when Brandon Beane said, if he's able to play, he's going to play because he's available and he deserves a spot on the roster until this investigation plays out and will follow the lead of the NFL. What I find so enraging to me is they didn't give that same courtesy to Matt Araiza last year, who regular allegations before it took 154 days for his case to be closed after an investigation, which just goes to show that, yes, the NFL will always remain inconsistent. They're never going to get that down to a science. But when it comes down to teams, and we saw this with Deshaun Watson too, they don't give a shit for big name players who they spend a lot of money on. If they can play, if the league isn't like suspending them or implementing anything, they're going to use them and they're going to play. But poor Matt Araiza out there had, allegations against him, and the Bills were like, hey, it's been nice. See ya. Have a nice day. So to me, look, and for everybody listening, I'm very much for innocent until proven guilty. Anybody who has listened to this show has heard us talk the likes of Trevor Bauer, Matt Araiza, even last week with who was it, Josh Giddey, right?
Yeah.
So we obviously we have our take, but we say, hey, let's see what happens, right? And thing with this one doesn't look good so far, but I do think from a sports team standpoint, when you have this double-edged sword of what happened last year versus what happened this year, clearly it's based off of skill level, what they're paying the player, and the big name player in itself.
Yeah, shout out to the punt god, man. It wasn't even at the party. That's crazy. The Trevor Bauer. I mean, us in our group chat were shitting on Trevor Bauer, and then come to find out, and it is a shame. And the inconsistency. I think, you have that situation with Matt Araiza. That's probably what led to being like, oh man, we kind of overreacted, or we maybe acted too quickly, let the process play out. You paid Von Miller a lot of.
He's still a free agent.
And that's true too. I would. There is a Buffalo contingent that said to do that. Von Miller's a little different because he has a little, he's a Hall of Famer, and they paid him a lot of money, and so I do get it. But even his girlfriend Megan Denise is walking back the statement saying that the situation was blown out of proportion, and look,
it is what it is. Emotions were hot in the heat of the moment, right? It's just when you look at the investigation on paper and the fact that once the police were called, he left, and then there was a certain it all does not sound good. It doesn't. So, like I said, I'm all for due process. I just think that to have handled it last year, and Jerm, maybe you're right. Maybe they learned from their mistakes and they're not going to overreact and they're going to give him a shot and go from there, man. It to me on initial reaction, it just looks like, let's go with the higher paid and the more skilled player and the ones that are expendables like special teams, kickers, things like that. Let them ride.
My fugly is the officiating has been awful.
Ooh, yeah,
officiating has been terrible. The story coming out of this weekend shouldn't have been the officiating. All right. Yeah. The late hit on Mahomes, the Valentine, whatever his name is, that non-pass interference on MVS. And listen, I know officiating isn't easy. I get it. It's hard. It's the game is moving at 1,000,000 miles per hour. I will never say that officiating is easy. I reffed the youth league game once and only once because I nearly filled the entire field up with uppercuts at moms and dads that were screaming at me for not having 8 pairs of eyes on my heads to watch their terrible 9-year-olds play football. Sorry, your kids suck, and they're still going to suck. And I can't call everything. I digress. Referees have a hard job, but they've been awful this season. The games are too big, and there's too much money on the line, especially with gambling and things of these nature.
Yep.
And especially as the weeks and heading into the playoffs, the games are really going to be too big. It's time the NFL uses the technology and the resources they have available. XFL was around for a year, and they figured out officiating. They had a little, again, me and Bert praised them, little Xbox controllers, zooming in, controlling the drones above the, hey, you missed this. Hey, that's not the right call. Hey, change that. Right on the fly. No challenge flags, no nothing. I don't understand. I don't understand why the NFL, these old dudes out here, we're still reviewing plays by throwing a nasty napkin on the floor. Evolve the game. Evolve it. Put a microchip in the ball so we can tell where the ball is on the field instead of just relying on the old man Guster and saying, hey, I think the ball was on the 3-yard line. I mean, what are we doing? So that's that. All right. I want to get to, we're half hour in. I want to get to the Packers for my man, Dwayne Marcus. The Packer back. Yeah, baby. I mean, Dwayne Marcus, praise your Packers. We've written them off. Jordan Love was a bust. Wait a minute. Beating the Kansas City Chiefs ass. I like it. What say you?
So I did, as I explained before the show, I did do some digging, as any good fan does around this time of the year. I just wanted to see what all of our possible playoff scenarios were at this point, because I think at the bare minimum, we've beaten the Rams. There's also another team that we have beaten that's kind of in the wild card race. Where as long as we just match what they do, so to speak, right? We're in the playoffs at the 7th seed. But if everything holds true what it is right now, our first round matchup is against the 49ers, which if you know anything about football, that is not a good matchup for the Green Bay Packers. So what I was checking for is basically to see how can we not have to play the 49ers. Our easiest way to not play the 49ers is to win out. If we win out, we're the 6th seed. Being the 6th seed means that we're probably not going to play the 49ers because I don't think the 49ers are going to fall. The 49ers actually can't fall down to the 3rd seed unless they lose more games than Dallas and Philly over the next 5 weeks because they've beaten both teams. So our best bet to not play the 49ers is to win out. But then I did some more digging. It is actually possible for us to host a playoff game this year. All we have to do is win out, and Detroit has to lose 3 games. That seems kind of crazy because they do have a pretty easy schedule, but there are 3 games they can lose. There are 2 games they have against Minnesota, and they do have a game against Dallas in Dallas. Dallas is a great home team. It's a very losable game. As a Packers fan, and I'm on record with my friends, I told them that I stopped caring about the season a couple weeks ago. We lost a really bad game that we shouldn't have lost. and I just didn't like it, and I said I was done. But now we're 6-6, and so now I'm caring a little bit more now because we can make a playoffs. And I think when you think about it from the standpoint of like how the season starts, right? Aaron Rodgers is gone. There's no real faith in Jordan Love. The season didn't start the way we wanted it to. But to turn around and to be 6-6 for Jordan Love to have like 857 yards, 8 touchdowns, no picks over the last 3 games, to be one of the highest rated quarterbacks from a quarterback rating standpoint, from a pass rating standpoint, the past couple weeks has been great for us. Christian Watson looked phenomenal in that game Sunday night. But also, we talk a lot about peaking early and how that's so important, not just for like the best teams, but also like for teams like us who are in the middle. We're actually peaking right where we're supposed to. Some of our secondary is starting to become more healthy, what is also going to play dividends. We don't have a tough schedule down the stretch. We have a game against the Panthers. We do have to play the Lions. We have to play the Bears. We have to play the Vikings. We have a game against the Giants on Sunday night, or I think it's Monday night this week. Like, this is not a tough schedule. It's not a schedule that we should be concerned about. It's a schedule that obviously we win out, we're in, but we can also win the next 3 games and lose the last 2 and be in the playoffs as well. Not as a 6 seed, but as a 7 seed. So our destiny is firmly in our hands. And all I'm looking for is a playoff appearance, because we're probably not going to win a playoff game, and I'm okay. I'm totally okay with that, considering how the way this season started and how it could have been so much worse. If we just make it to the playoffs, home or away, we can lose by 30. I honestly won't care. That's not something most fans would say. Most fans will want to go to the Super Bowl. We're not a Super Bowl team, though. Like, we're not a team that's going to make it to the Super Bowl this year. We're not a team that's going to make it to the division round this year. And I know that. I recognize that. I just want us to be in the playoffs. I think us making the playoffs means a lot because we have one of the youngest rosters in the league, right? You have a super young quarterback. You got young receivers. You got a young tight end. You got a young O-line. You got a kind of young defense. Like, for a young team to be on pace to and have the chance to win 11 games for the first time in the post-Aaron Rodgers era, for all you Green Bay nerds out there, Aaron Rodgers' first season, post Brett Favre, he didn't win 11 games. I'll tell you that much. He won some, but he didn't win 11. He definitely didn't make the playoffs. So am I going to sit here and say that Jordan Love is a Hall of Famer? No. I think there are Packers fans out there that are going too far. But I think that Jordan Love so far in one season has definitely proven that he is a franchise guy. And the best part about it is we have him cheap next year, again, to continue to build around him, to continue to get better, to continue to plug some more holes, and then maybe, start competing for championships in the next 3 to 5 years. But playoffs, we have a chance to win the division for the first time without Aaron Rodgers, which is all I care about. It's possible. Detroit has to lose 3, and we have to win out. It's not impossible, but the chances are slim, and I love that for us.
Yeah. NFL script, baby. We back. That Jordan Love is going to have a better Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Let's go. I will say if Green Bay can make the playoff, I have D'Amico Ryans as a firm winner of the Coach of the Year, but if somehow Matt LaFleur can get the Packers to
no, he don't deserve it. No.
All right.
Matt LaFleur does not deserve it. No.
If he can get the Packers, if he can get this Packers team to the playoffs, he'd get some consideration.
He'll probably get some votes, but D'Amico Ryans should be just like with Mike Brown last year. Like, they should just ship him the award right now. He's earned it. The Texans are 7-5. They've got the Rookie of the Year. They should just give him the award right now. Just close voting.
Cowboys versus Eagles 2 coming up. A lot at stake for both teams. You got David Carr out there thinking that Marcus Mariota is better than Jalen Hurts or whatever nonsense he was saying.
What an idiot.
Yeah. So Dwayne Marcus, this was your topic. What'd you have in mind for the Cowboys versus Eagles?
So this game is important for a number of different reasons. Not just important, obviously, for Dallas and Philly, but also if Dallas wins this game and the Lions win out, the Lions have a chance to be the number 1 seed in the NFC, what I think is super interesting. There's no other game that Philly can lose where the Lions can win out and win and have the 1 seed in the NFC. It's only this one, and it's because of the conference tiebreaker. The Lions will have more wins within the conference than the Eagles if they lose this game. So that's super important.
Wait.
But also, there's like...
Hold on. All right, go ahead.
But also, I think what's been super annoying and why I hate Eagles fans this year is because a lot of Eagles fans act like the Eagles are so much better than the Cowboys. And the beautiful thing about having 2 really good teams that are in the same division is they play the same teams. So we get to compare how they performed against the same teams. The Eagles, as we mentioned, lost to the Jets. The Cowboys destroyed the Jets this season. Both teams lost to the 49ers. They both got 42 hung up on them. So, that's a scratch there. The Eagles had 2 close games against the Commanders. The Cowboys, aside from their loss against the Eagles, obviously have dominated the division so far this year. I think, and I've said it all year, what we continue to do with the Dallas Cowboys and with Dak Prescott especially, is we continue to make them want to atone for their sins of the last 27, 28 years of not having been to a conference championship, not having been to a Super Bowl, instead of just treating them like the team they are right now in the present in the 2023-2024 season. And what they are is a bona fide Super Bowl contender. What they are is one of the best teams in football, one of the best teams in their conference, and they are a team that if they win this game, which I think they will because it's a home game and they have won every home game against the Eagles dating back to like 2013 or something like that, I think is what I saw earlier. Like when they play the Eagles at home, they win. And sometimes they blow them out of the water. So what I know is if the Dallas Cowboys, who have been the best team at home this year, come up on Sunday night and win this game, it's not just a shot at the 1 seed. It's not just a shot at the division. The Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl if they win this game on Sunday. Like that's actually what it is. And I just firmly
so is this a
believe
must win for Philly, right? Or a must win for Dallas? Like based on what you're saying, it sounds like you're saying it's a must win for Dallas.
I don't think it's a must win for Dallas. I think Dallas will be fine. This is a must win for Philly. Philly cannot, the Eagles, and especially Eagles fans, will not be able to show their faces if after being blown out by the Niners at home, I've been talking all that trash all year about how Brock Purdy not being in that game didn't matter. And then also if they lose on Sunday against the Cowboys on the road. Now, if it's a close game, like Bert said earlier, if it's a close game, maybe we maybe we turn a blind eye. But they get dusted. They get boat raced in Dallas on Sunday. We're going to have a serious conversation about the Eagles that no one's wanted to have all season. Because the Eagles have not been the Eagles of last year. Like, I get it. They're 10-1. They were 10-1 last year through 12 weeks. But this is not the same team. Like, there was no team last year that could actually reasonably step foot on a football field with the Eagles and you think, oh, they're better. That's not the case this year. They got destroyed by the Niners last week. They could potentially get destroyed by the Cowboys again this week. And the Cowboys, could they go to San Francisco and win a football game? Sure. But do I think that San Francisco could come to Dallas this year and win a football game the way they did 2 years ago? No. So what Dallas is playing for is home field advantage. They've been the best home team all season. Home field advantage for Dallas, I think, all but guarantees a Super Bowl appearance. But the Eagles have to win this game because all the Eagles have left, all Eagles fans have left to cling on to as it pertains to being the best team in football is having the best record in football. But if we show up at the end of week 14 and they're not the only 10-win team in the league, it's because they lost back-to-back games to the 2 teams that are their biggest threats. The Eagles are going to be stuck bad, like real bad, because they have to go and they have to play Seattle in Seattle the week after. And Seattle's not a bad team. They're hungry and they also want to get into the playoffs. The Eagles have to win this game to win the 1 seed, and they have to win this game to have any shot at the Super Bowl. They lose this game, they're done. There will be no need to grease any polls in Philadelphia this year because the Phillies lost in the World Series again, and the Unions suck. And I don't know what the Flyers are doing. I'm sure Bert knows, but I bet they're not good. So there's no good there. And Jerm, sorry to break it to you, but the Sixers aren't giving Philly any reason to grease any polls anytime soon. The Eagles are the only chance of greasing polls in Philadelphia this year. And if they lose this game on Sunday, there will be no polls being greased in Philadelphia. They'll be dry. They'll be dry polls. They'll be dry polls.
Just like the Edwards house. All right. So Bert, I
was waiting for it. I was like, listen, Packers on a three-week win streak. I mean, Dwayne Marcus poll's been greased for a while now.
Yeah, I'm about to say. It's down there in D.C. and the seedy hotels. I don't know if he still works there. The OnlyFans hotels he used to work at. The Eagles all season, I think Dwayne Marcus is right. They haven't looked like themselves. Their branding this year has been find a way to win somehow, whether it's capitalizing on some bad refereeing or a turnover at the wrong time by the team they're playing. They just seem to find ways to win without actually winning the game. And if they lose to the Cowboys, they're going to have the same record as the Detroit Lions. And all of a sudden, that world beater Eagles mantra that all the sports media has been pumping into our ears all season is going to be gone because you have the same record as the Lions, and so and that's not. I mean, I guess it's a knock to the Lions, but nobody really sees the Lions that way, even though they've been really good this year. So, yeah, the Eagles. I don't know, Bert. Like, I think it's a must-win for the Eagles, but if they, more importantly, they need to win so they can clinch the number 1 seed, and
Yeah.
then give Jalen Hurts a bye week, basically to heal up.
Oh, 100%. But like, I mean, look, Dwayne Marcus, for the most part, speaking facts. The fact that even if Dallas wins in a close game, you think that's going to give them the momentum to be Super Bowl bound, to me is a bold accusation, knowing who the Dallas organization is. But hey, listen, buddy, I'm rooting for you in your picks, so why not? But no, the Eagles need a bounce back week, number 1, first and foremost, but they need to prove that, hey, just because we've lost twice this year doesn't mean that we're downward spiraling. Jerm, to your point, they need to clinch and they need that bye week so everybody stays healthy. But I'll take the opposite approach. Like, yes, they haven't looked like themselves, but I do mind because I'm a Giant fan, but from a football perspective, like, listen, a gritty approach is fine. Like, anything to win games, particularly for a Super Bowl run-up team or runner-up team, where they're truly looking to claw back to get to the main show and hopefully take it all this year is their mindset. So listen, if they're going to make sure that they capitalize on calls that went their way, that's perfectly fine. If for the most part they face somewhat of an easy schedule, just win any given Sunday, just win and get there. This will be the true testament, though, as they head towards the end of their season. And I think it starts right now. Honestly, they need to come away with another win. It's going to be a hard fought battle through and through. But overall, if they end up losing, it's going to be, how did they look all game and to what degree did they lose, to see if they truly are spiraling. But we'll see. Look, we want to talk about how shitty Thursday night games are. This Sunday night game is going to be great. It really is.
Yeah. But I think when you talk about the narrative for the Eagles, the whole year coming into the season was, yeah, they lost the Super Bowl, but Jalen Hurts outplayed Pat Mahomes. And that's like what everyone is holding on to, right? Because like, how many times has Pat Mahomes been outplayed, right? But then, like, the guy that we saw in February in the biggest game of his career, in a losing effort, outplaying the best quarterback on the face of the planet, we have not seen that guy at all this season, like at all. We have seen more evidence of the guy from 2020 who looked awful against Tampa Bay in the wild card round than we have seen the guy who played and outplayed Pat Mahomes in February. And if I'm supposed to believe that the Eagles are going back to the Super Bowl, the best team in football, and granted, whoever comes out of the NFC, especially if it's the Cowboys, the Niners, or the Eagles, they're probably going to win the Super Bowl because the AFC is a mess right now with half of the best quarterbacks in the division or in the conference either hurt or just inconsistent. Sorry, Jerm. Like, that's just how it works. Unfortunately, though, the Eagles haven't been that. I haven't gotten one vintage Jalen Hurts performance. I haven't gotten one game this season where I looked at the Eagles or I looked at Jalen Hurts and, wow, like, there he is. I got an 80-yard touchdown drive against the Bills last week. That's it. That's the best Jalen Hurts has looked all game, is that game-winning drive against the Bills in overtime. Unfortunately, the Bills don't win overtime games. So, like, the coins just aren't on their side. Like how many times have the Bills gotten the ball first in overtime? I think once. And the one time they did get the ball in overtime first, they didn't do anything with it, and they lost that game too. Like, it's not that hard to beat the Bills in overtime. Again, sorry, Jerm. Like, the Eagles have given me nothing. They've given me nothing all year. They have one chance, and it's this game. Especially after being blown out against the 49ers, they have one more chance this year to prove that they really are everything that all Eagles fans and Dan Orlovsky and Mike Greenberg, God bless his Jets loving soul, and everybody else wants to sit around and talk about how the Eagles are this and the Eagles are that. They have one chance this year. It's this Sunday on the road in Jerry to prove that they are everything that everyone's been saying that they are. If they lose this game, I don't even care if it's not a blowout. If they don't win this game on Sunday against the Cowboys, who they keep trying to make a little brother, it's not going to go good. It's not going to go good. It's not. They're going to lose to the Seahawks the week after probably because they don't handle adversity well. That's just not who the Eagles are. They're the ultimate front runners. Like, they're only good when they have a lead. They're only good when everything's going their way. When things start going to flames and Jalen Hurts really has to be that guy, he's not that guy all the time. So yeah, give me the Cowboys by 17. and they'll make it to the Super Bowl, and the Eagles will be at home, reinventing themselves again for the 6th time in as many years. What?
The mic isn't.
We can't hear you.
We can hear you.
It's because I'm muted. My bad.
There we go. All right.
There we go. I muted myself. I went to go drink my drink, and I didn't want to do my Dwayne Marcus gulps in the microphone. So
Yeah, it was rough. No, it was rough. It was rough before the show started.
Now, I will say the Buffalo Bills the last couple of years have had high expectations, and they've fallen apart in the playoffs. They've had really good regular seasons, and then they've fallen apart in the playoffs. So it would be poetic. Wait, hold on. Everybody's counting us out. How magical would it be that we went out and then going to win the Super Bowl? It's like a complete opposite of what's been happening. The Cowboys.
Not with Sean McDermott as the head coach.
Damn right. So when it comes to the Cowboys and Eagles, Eagles need this game real bad. And even if the Cowboys do win it, the Eagles are still going to make the playoffs, and the Cowboys will make the playoffs. And we all know what's going to happen. It's not going to matter what happens here in this game on Sunday.
Mhm.
As soon as the playoffs start, the Cowboys are going to cowboy. Everybody's just hyping themselves up, and the more they hype themselves up, the more I get to do this. Cowboys dropped that game to the Niners in embarrassing fashion like they did the other year. Good for the Cowboys. You won 10 games. Good job. You beat the Eagles Sunday Night Football. You beat your rivals. Dak Prescott looks all happy. He's eating Campbell's soup or whatever, Progressive or whatever soup he's sponsoring. And then you're going to lose in the playoffs, and it's going to be Mike McCarthy's fault, or it's going to be Dak's fault. Something's going to happen because that's just the Dallas Cowboys. But before
let me ask you a question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let me just ask you this one question, right? None of these 3 teams can be the 4 seed because of how bad the Falcons are. It's either 1, 2, or 3. Or in the case of the Eagles and the Cowboys, it's 1, 2, or 5 because they're in the same division. Right. Let's say the Cowboys win this game, they win the division, they're the 2 seed, right? Or the 3 seed, whichever, right? That means that they don't have to play the 49ers and the Eagles. They have to play the 49ers.
You'll play Philly, 49ers, and then or Detroit, right? Like those would be a combination of those two would be
right. Yeah. But if they're in the top 4, they have to play the 49ers or the Eagles in a playoff game as opposed to all 4. So
all 4.
My question then the reason why I'm so optimistic and the reason why I think this game is so important, especially for the Cowboys, of course, is because winning this game basically means the Eagles lose one more game this season, which it's possible, especially if they rest their starters in week 18 against the Giants. They have the 2 seed or the 3 seed, right?
Yeah.
It is not. It's not far-fetched to see the Cowboys in the conference championship game this year because they're better than every other team. They're better than every other team except for the Niners, and they're on the same level as the Eagles. So really, all the Cowboys have to do is win that one game that's the most important because the other games are going to be at home, and they haven't not shown up at home. I think that's, at least for me as a non-Cowboy fan, without all the the Jerry Jones energy flowing through my blood as a Cowboys fan. Like that's why it's so easy to be optimistic about a potential Super Bowl appearance, is because this game virtually guarantees that the Eagles and the 49ers have to play each other and the Cowboys get to pick the bones of what's left. That is, to me, a great reason to be optimistic when you consider the fact that that game it's a strong chance that game against the Eagles and 49ers could be at home based on all the stuff I ran earlier today. But also, and most importantly, like the Eagles and the 49ers aren't that much better than the Cowboys. They're on the same level. It's just going to come down to quarterback play. And of the 3, Dak Prescott's been the best this season. He's been the best this season. They all have great defenses. Coaching not that good, but Dak Prescott's been the best of the 3 this year. That's why it's easy for me to just be so confident and say, oh, yeah, they win this game and it's a Super Bowl appearance.
2 things, Dwayne Marcus. He's the better, and Dallas is better in the regular season. We're talking about the playoffs. So what year were you born, Dwayne Marcus? This is not a youth joke. I can't remember what year you were born.
The Dallas Cowboys have not been to.
No, don't bury, don't ruin the joke.
I mean, he beat you to it. He knew. He sniffed out what you were getting at.
No, I knew where it was coming. I knew where it was going. I was born in
the Dallas Cowboys haven't been to an NFC Championship game since the Super Nintendo came out. Okay.
Well, Des should have caught it then. That's easy.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
It wasn't. It was not. But
Okay. Before we close out the show with our college football segment, I did promise Mike we would play this video. Me, Bert, Mike, Corey, Ty, Carl, all the Shot Boys were at the Todd Frazier Pong event, benefiting the Children's Specialized Hospital a couple of weeks ago. Raised over $60,000 for the event. It was an awesome event. And if you didn't see the live stream, the 4-hour live stream where I was drunk and eating pizza, and you didn't catch it, this was a little bit of what you missed.
We're at the second annual Todd Frazier Beer Pong event. Hey, listen, man, second year. How do you feel?
I feel great.
No, I might be the worst Pong player in the history of Pong ever.
Yeah. If I can describe the feeling in this room right now, it is nothing less than absolutely electrifying.
Again, all the money is going to the Children's Specialized Hospital. Just think about the kids.
Tell us about your experience at Children's Specialized Hospital.
So I knew I needed to go somewhere where I could gain all my ability to move again back. And Children's Specialized just was an option. So it was unbelievable. I don't know where I would be without it.
And it's all because we decided to play some Pong.
That's it, baby.
If you weren't here and you still want to donate, give the number 2 CSH.org. Give to CSH.org. Thank you, brother.
Thank you guys again, always. A ping pong ball in a cup can raise over 55, 60,000. We did it, baby.
All right. So that was some of the highlights. It was great. I don't know why it wasn't full screen, but I'll look into that later. But yeah, it's it'll be on our socials tomorrow at some point. But yeah, just wanted to shout out to Ty for making that awesome video, and shout out to everybody who came to make the event as awesome as it possibly could be. So, all right, to why we're really here, guys. College football playoff is a joke. It's a goddamn joke. And I'm sick of it. I'm literally sick of it. It's the committee comes and, Florida sits there at 5th and the fan base is justifiably pissed off. And I think I'd be upset too as a Power 5 school that goes undefeated, 2 non-conference wins against LSU, and then I think another SEC school. And here we are, Alabama sneaks its way in because they beat Georgia and they jump up a bunch of spots. I think they were number 7 or 8. The team's never jumped in that far. And I have to remind myself that college football is stupid. It's like a stupid sport because what just happened here is something that I think we've always known, that the games don't actually matter because it's a show. It's not a competition. It's about what matchups produce the most money. And what's even funnier, Bert, as I think about this, because it used to be stupider, right? They used to play the games. They used to do the bowl games, and then we would wake up the next morning and read the newspaper, and somebody would just pick a national champion. Somebody in charge, you would just say, okay, we've watched all the bowl games and we think this one team, and sometimes it was more than one team, right? Remember co-national champions, Bert? Like, there was a thing where like they just picked a guy or picked a team, and you never knew what the criteria was. There wasn't any explanation for it. And honestly, like, it's why Princeton has 28 world championships, right, throughout the title. Why Michigan, I know they just celebrated 1,000 wins, but if you look at the history of it, a lot of those wins came against high school teams. And that's why Alabama has a bunch of championships, because some person named like, Deacon Buttkiss decided, hey, I think, this guy's the national champion. And so I don't know. It's Bert, give me an explanation on why this happened.
And this is the reason. There is no valid explanation. There are no data points. It was purely based off objectivity and people feeling as though, despite the 15-0, despite the championship, they felt that obviously Alabama should be in it because they're a better team than Florida, given the recent injuries to Florida, and it would just make for a better game. And I think that's why, like, a lot of people are upset. You form a college football playoffs, and there should be some type of standard as to who would get in and who wouldn't based off data points alone. But that simply wasn't the case. Now, I mean, Jerm, you had mentioned this through text and me, like, obviously next year, this won't matter because they're expanding. So hopefully we won't see this big of a uproar about it. But I think everybody in the sports world, or at least the football, college football, I mean, the talking heads on ESPN, the talking heads here on this show are sitting here beside ourselves like, what is going on? And not the fact that obviously Alabama doesn't deserve to be in there, but clearly Florida should have just jumped them 100%. I think it's look, there's no perfect mathematical equation because you have the different conferences in there. And yes, we used to go through a much dumber process. It's just until you work it out, it's going to be one of those things where, it's never going to be perfect ever. So obviously, I mean, look, everybody in Florida, well, not everybody in Florida, but like, those for Florida State are a little bit upset. So we'll say Tallahassee, that area, obviously not happy. And then everybody else just sitting there going, what happened? Like, what is going on? Who can we blame for this, Jerm?
Oh, hold on. You know who we can blame, Bert? I'll tell you exactly who we can blame. And I can tell you exactly whose fault it is.
Liberal media.
So Dwayne Marcus, there's something wrong with this system. When Florida State's quarterback, Jordan Travis, says, I wish I broke my leg earlier in the season.
Yeah.
I said that, I took that as, I wish my teammates had gotten more opportunities to prove to 13 jackass random old farts in a conference room that even though we were undefeated with me, even though we were undefeated with the second string guy, and even though, let me check my notes. Oh, yeah, we were still undefeated with the third string guy, that we were still good enough and still one of the best four teams without me. And the fact that the committee unilaterally disregarded 11 games that they had won previously. Do the games matter, Dwayne Marcus? Is that the messaging that college football is actually sending us, that the games actually don't matter? That every Tuesday they come out with these stupid ESPN shows ranking the top four, and none of the rankings matter because the only rankings that actually matter are the last ones. So do the games in college football matter?
Yeah, I think the games for college football matter because these are kids that are getting scouted by the 32 teams in the NFL so they can go be drafted in April. That's why the games matter to me. Look, I have given up.
Oh yeah, Dwayne Marcus.
College football. Like, I've given up on the college football playoff committee being reasonable. But what I did do is I did take some time today during what was a pretty slow day at work. I did some work things. But before work, I figured out. My boss doesn't see that. I just realized I just admitted to doing basically nothing at work today. But whatever. I sat down and I thought about allegedly. I thought about ways that we could make the college football playoff selection thing better. Right? Here's what I came up with. You divide the country into 6 sections. The champion of each of the 6 sections, those champions regardless of record, those champions are put into a college football playoff, and then you put the champions in order of best record to worst record. The 2 best records get a bye. And then I thought about it, and I realized that there was a time when we had 6, sections. There was the ACC, and then there was the Big Ten, there was the Big 12, and the Pac-12, and the SEC. But then I remembered that all the commissioners of all these different sections, they decided they're just going to move themselves around however they please. Those sections don't even work anymore. Because we don't have a Pac-12 anymore. We have like a Pac-2. And the Big Ten's not the Big Ten anymore. It's like the Big 50. And the SEC's got teams from like the middle of the country now. So that doesn't work either. So here's what we do. We have a 12-team college football playoff. And we're going to give the 4 best teams a bye. But you guys, guess what still has to happen? There's still a group of people that have to figure out who the 4 best teams in the country are. So the 12-team college football playoff format that starts next year isn't going to fix anything. It's not. It's actually going to make things worse. Because not only are you going to pick 4 teams to get a bye, you're also basically hand-picking matchups. Do you know that if the college football playoff was a 12-team format this year, Oregon, who I am a fan of, would be playing Liberty University, undefeated. Shout out to Liberty. I'll be starting there online in January to get another degree. Shout out to Liberty University. In what world do the Liberty University Owls, or whatever they are, deserve to be on a football field with the Oregon Ducks? In what world does that happen? By the way, they're ranked 23. They're ranked 23rd in the country, and they would have had, if the 12-team playoff existed today, they would have had a playoff game against the Oregon Ducks. The college football playoff committee is stupid. It shouldn't exist, and it is unfortunate that we live in a world where there are still old people who are out of touch who get to make decisions. It's almost as if that's how the country runs, and I just wish that we could get away from all these old white people making decisions about things that old white people don't enjoy. How many old white people really, really, really sit down and enjoy college football? None of them. Half of them don't even know what NIL means. You know how I know that? Because I only knew what NIL means 3 months ago. These people don't know anything about college football. College football is it's a great sport. The game of football is a great sport, right? Beside all the hundreds of thousands of car crashes that are happening all the time, right, with humans, it's a great sport and it's fun. And what's happened right now is you look at certain situations like this one and you say, man, Florida State was undefeated and they lost out on a chance to win a national championship for the first time since Jameis Winston was quarterback because their quarterback broke their leg, but they were still undefeated. That's ridiculous to me. It's asinine. And if we are going to sit here and play this game of we're just going to pick the 4 teams we like the best, then if that's the case, there's no need to pick because Alabama's going to be in it every year.
Yeah.
What the committee told us this year is that if you, me, and 10 other Joe Schmoes just so happen to catch Georgia on an off day one day and beat them closely, we would the 13 of us, 20 of us would make the college football playoff is what the committee told us this year. It's unfortunate. And for all those people who think it's going to be better next year, it's not. Because the committee's decision is only going to impact more matchups. It's only going to impact the champions even more. And so all I can say is I solely watch college football to figure out which players are going to be playing on Sunday. And out of that bunch, which 10 of them are going to be in Canton 20, 25 years from now. That's all the college football sport at this point. So if you think college football is useless, you're an idiot because it's not. You get to see the next generation of great NFL players that you'll be buying jerseys and rooting for on Sundays and sometimes Mondays. And we need to stop rooting for them on Thursdays, but the NFL is going to do it anyway. And sometimes on Thursdays, play football. That's what it's for. That's what it's always going to be for. That's all I care about. So I'll see Keon Coleman on Sundays. And I'll see Jordan Travis on Sundays, and I'll see a couple of these other players on Sundays because the college football playoff committee sucks. It's worse than Congress at this point.
Man, I know we're getting obviously a little bit late in the show, but what I will say, just to rebuttal your point, like, why not Liberty University? Why we root for upsets in March Madness all the time. We lost our minds when Fairleigh Dickinson beat Purdue last year, and yet, I want to see a 25th ranked team knock off Alabama or Oregon or someone. Like make it happen. I don't give a shit.
Let's just get a March Madness style college football playoff at this point.
I mean, but at the end of the day, the playoffs do work. We have it in the NFL, right? The 14 best records play in the playoff. Like you can do that in college. The best records get the seedings, and you might have to realign some of the conferences to make it work, but you don't have to pick the teams. Throw it in the BCS and just spit out the 12 teams in the top 4, whatever the criteria you want it to be. But Liberty, I don't like the argument that Liberty's also undefeated, so they should be in the top 4. No, they don't have the listen. Bert, I'm not going to throw Dwayne Marcus in there, but me and Bert goes out and sleeps with Beyonce, and I go sleep with Bertha, who works at Big Shirley's Diner. Yeah, they're both women, but they're not the same. It's not the same. I mean, it's just not the same, right? And
no, it's not.
No,
it's
Liberty.
Not, yeah.
Okay, so Liberty. Sorry, Liberty. You're undefeated. It's not the same.
No, I agree. I was not pining. No, I was not pining for Liberty to be. What I was saying was, if this is like, what I'm saying is, there were a lot of people like 12 football. Like if the 12 teams was now, Liberty would have had one of the 12 spots. I was like why? Like it's Liberty University. Like it's a Protestant Christian school in Lynchburg, Virginia, that like is going to suck next year. They're going to suck next year. They're not going to be 13-0 again next year.
Joe B, listen, they've written off the Colts too. They could have been good. Gardner Minshew is a football player. We are big Gardner Minshew fans on the West Side. Let me tell you, is he perfect? No. Does he look bad sometimes? Yes. But is he electrifying? You damn straight he is. You goddamn right Gardner Minshew is that guy. I love Gardner Minshew. He's you run through a wall for that guy. Chaos Cavs, what's up, man? Because NIL, there will always be 8 teams that'll be good enough to be in the playoffs, so 9 to 12 won't matter. And so at the end of the day, he's right? Like, yes, the committee will still choose the 4 seedings, but you'll know who I know that's a 12-team playoff, but we'll know pretty clearly who the best 8 to 10 teams are, and then you'll fill out the rest of the bracket, right? Like, so yes, will it matter who gets the bye or who deserves the bye? Listen,
I think so.
It was wrong. It was wrong to leave out Florida State. Games on the field have to matter. It can't be based on reputation. It can't be a beauty contest, or like Mike Greenberg said, figure skating, where judges just decide, objectively. It has to be subjective. Sports are subjective. One team plays, one team wins, one team loses, right? Or 2 teams play, one team wins, one team loses. For years, we were told that the problem with expanded playoffs was that it would devalue the regular season and that every Saturday mattered. And that's what made college football better than the NFL. And that's why it's special. But the Saturday in September didn't matter for Alabama, right? When they lost to Texas, it didn't matter then. So don't tell me that the games don't matter. There's no downside to a 12-team playoff. There's no downside to an 18-team playoff, whatever you want to do. But at the end of the day, the records have to speak for themselves. You have to decide. Yes, they'll be like the UCFs, right, who have 2 undefeated seasons that didn't make the playoff. They would have to make, and I don't care if you put them at 12, you'll get one Cinderella in however many years
every
it takes.
10, 15 years.
Right. It doesn't happen that often. So the people's concerns about that have to go away. But yeah, I don't give Travis the Heisman if he means that much. Right. Yeah. Right. So like, then give him Jordan Travis the Heisman Trophy. You're saying that he is bigger than Florida State vying for a national championship, and it just kind of sucks. It just kind of sucks for them. But yeah, these guys, and once again, whose fault this is.
Liberal media.
All day, every day. Bert, do you have a game ball you want to give out?
Yeah, absolutely. As we wrap up the show, I would say more of like a prayers up game ball, if you will. So Panthers tight end Hayden Hurst has been diagnosed with post-traumatic amnesia, which he took a massive hit earlier in the season. So his father came out and made the announcement, which basically affects his short-term memory loss, and memory loss actually since the hit in itself is something he's battling with, and there is an uncertain timetable as to when, if and when he would return to the game in itself. So look, we're big advocates for individuals obviously wanting to get back and playing the sport that they love. So my game ball goes out to him, and honestly for a well recovery, and obviously hopefully he can live a healthy and normal life from this point forward for sure.
Dwayne Marcus, you got a game ball you want to give out?
Yeah,
it's an easy one, man. Come on now.
Goes to the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I was going to say Jordan Love. You're damn right. Yeah, kidding me? That's an easy one. That's an easy one for you, man. My game ball is going out to CM Punk, baby. Make wrestling great again. He's back in where he belongs, and AEW is suffering. It's a fantastic. I love it. I love the guy that everybody loves to hate.
No,
CM Punk is the
greatest.
Get
me started on Phil Brooks.
Bigger than wrestling, Dwayne Marcus. He's bigger than the business.
You do not get to leave the place you worked and badmouth it for 10 years and then come crawling back because the other place kicked you out. You don't get to do that, bro.
Yes, you do. Bro, when you're CM Punk, you do. Hey, CM Punk he's been back in WWE for a week. He is the number one merchandise seller. So he's still the number one merchandise seller for AEW. Let me tell you, bigger than the business.
Merchandise seller in WWE because he came back in Chicago and all of those Chicagoans bought a shirt before they left. That's the only reason why. The only reason.
Sounds like a heady play by CM Punk. Dwayne Marcus, this is awesome. I love the crossover shows. Bert, this is awesome. Please check us out on all the socials. Just Google Give Us a Shot Network. You'll find all that good shit on there. You can check it in the description. I got links to everything. Make sure you check out our website. Subscribe to the Give Us a Shot Network YouTube channel. Follow at GTP Marcus on Instagram. Follow at Stuff About Sports on the Instagram. And whatever you do, don't follow Paul Feinbaum because he's terrible. He's terrible. There's a special place for Paul Feinbaum. And when he gets there, in hell, say hi to our Bryles.